roofing sequence in terms of geochronology.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, when you're dating things using thermochronology or geochronology, you know, all you have is what's in the mountain, unless you have basins like this, where a lot of the things were collected. And so what we could do out of this, if we wanted to, would be to try to go into one of these sandy layers and separate out apatites or zircons that would probably be in there. And then what that's going to tell us is the cooling history of the sediment itself. So it would have been some older time period when it cooled up through the mountain, through the partial retention zones, and then back down into the basin. We collected one big chunk last year. That was a big conglomerate chunk. It was, you know, a couple feet long. That we are gonna do that with. We haven't separated it yet.
That was in Harrison Pass.
What's that? That was in Harrison Pass, but it's a very similar situation. It was a big chunk of rock that might tell us something about an older uplift history that isn't preserved on the mountains anymore, because all that older uplift history and the rocks that would tell us about it have all been eroded into the basins and are now piled up with sediments here.
But you might find, for instance, certain cooling ages that might occur in, say, the Pequot Mountains or something, as you kind of go up dip in the lower plate. And you might begin to see those zircons appearing in here, and you'd say, oh, it looks like we're kind of, you know, exhuming zircon, you know, at that age zircons, and maybe rocks, the source area, you might be able to tie it back to the source area based on the cooling ages in the zircons in here, and tie it back to the zircon ages in the footwall as well. And so I wouldn't expect, for instance, we were to see any 20 million year old zircon ages in these rocks. I mean, if we did, and these rocks are post-17, that would be a really fast recycling.
Right.
Yeah, and that would since we only see 20 million year zircon ages in kind of the western half of the Ruby and East Humboldt range, we don't think those layers were up yet. So I'd be very surprised, and it would be important actually if we began seeing 20 million year old zircon cooling ages, detrital zircon ages. It wouldn't be surprising to see volcanic zircons maybe of that age in here. And in fact, we have seen some, but those would probably be a lot more. They'd be from airfault, from tophaceous layers and so forth. They'd be a lot more euhedral and wouldn't have been rounded or anything.
Actually, one of the big challenges of using detrital grains for thermochronology, though, is that you don't know that. You can make an educated guess that these zircons might be volcanic and these ones might not be, but you don't actually know that a priori. And what people have started doing now is actually doing this technique called double dating, where you do a uranium lead date and a uranium thorium helium date of a grain. And if those dates are the same, then that tells you it's volcanic because it crystallized and cooled at the same time. But if it's different, then it might be telling you about a different uplift history. The detrital thermochronology is incredibly difficult to interpret. It's probably one of the reasons we haven't focused on it that much. The cobble we got last year was a special circumstance, but
yeah. Okay.